Hi, this is A. Wesley. That ain't who tells it like a TI is. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Something I'm going to talk to you today about is the Janet Jackson documentary that just happened this past weekend. I like both parts of the documentary, parts one and two, because it was 2 hours long for each part. So it was like a four-part of documentary. But oh, this man, every time I think this man is gone with this lawnmower, he comes back. But anyway, I'm gonna try to edit this part out of the video. But uh, but the video started off. Uh, oh, this noise is getting my nerve. The video started off with uh, with uh, with a caption on the screen saying that in 2017, Janet Jackson decided to hire a film crew, and they followed her around for 5+ years to do the documentary. And then after that, they showed Janet in the car riding through her old neighborhood. And after she rode through her old neighborhood, she spotted a mural of her and her brother. She said, "Oh, how cute!" And she was kind of crying. And she said, "Stop the car! Stop the car! I want to see it." And so she rolled down the window and she saw it. He said, "Ooh, all my brothers are looking up, except for Michael. He's looking down. He's looking away." But the picture was still cute. And she liked it. And then next thing you know, Randy was taking Janet into their old family house, and he was asking Janet, did she remember the living room and some other parts of the house? And she said, yes, she kind of remembered that. And he was telling her how small the house was, and then he also took her to a room, and he said, this is the room where you sleep in. Do you remember? And she said, no, I don't remember that. He said it was it was bunk beds. He said, I think he said that. I think he said the older brother slept at the top, and I think he said Michael and Randy. I think he said Michael and I think he said it was Michael and Tito or Michael and somebody else. Was sleeping in the middle, and he was sleeping on the end, and he was saying sometimes. Randy was saying sometimes Michael and I guess Tito would be so scared to use the bathroom because Joe wanted everybody to sleep when he said lights out, that they kind of peed on him, like he said a couple of times. And Janet kind of shook her head. What? He said the room was so small, and he was saying the girls, I guess Rebe and Toya had slept on another thing. And then they showed Janet's mother talking to the producer, talking about how small the kitchen table was, and they were trying to find ways for everyone to be able to sit at the dining room table and eat, because the room in the house was so small, people had to swarm together and stuff. And so after that part, he told Janet that they were always on the road doing stuff, and Janet said, "Yeah, they had a studio. They had a home studio where the boys would be recording songs and records, and she would be in there playing with her brothers, and she liked playing with her brothers. But she said the only down part was that when they got ready to go on tour and stuff, she had to stay back. With her mom, and she didn't like that because she missed her brothers, and she was saying that." She missed her brothers, and that was the only down part, and she had to stay back. And she said she was more closer to Randy and Michael than any of her other brothers. And she was saying when they would come back from touring, they would have a lot of fun doing this and doing that. And then so Janet said her daddy decided to take her on the road, talking about they was gonna go to Las Vegas, and she was gonna be in some kind of Las Vegas vaudeville show, because he knew that Janet always liked it acting, and she would also do imitations of old Hollywood stars. And so he took her on to Las Vegas thing, and did she did a Marilyn Monroe imitation, and everybody liked it there. And that's when he found out that Janet was going to be going on the road with them. And then Janet said Janet said that she had some songs that she wanted to record out in her head, and she recorded in the studio. But she said that she had forgot to cut the thing off, and when she came back from school, Michael and Randy and her daddy had heard what she was singing in her head, and she said that's when her daddy made up in his mind, "You're gonna be a singer. You're gonna be a singer." And she said she kept telling her daddy, "No, no, no, I'm not gonna be a singer. I want to grow up to be a lawyer. I want to be in business law." And she said her daddy said no. And so she said she started practicing on singing and stuff like that. And then she said her daddy told her about a show that was auditioning, and that show was Good Times. And she said she knew about Good Times anyway because she liked the show Good Times. And then Norman Lear said that he needed a strong actor to play the part of an abused child or abused kid. And he said when Janet Jackson did the audition, he said he knew that Janet Jackson had something special in her because he said he needed a special person to take on the role, take on that role. And he said Janet fit the bill. And so Janet did Good Times, and then she started getting other stuff. And then Janet said that she really didn't want to do Fame. She really didn't want to do Fame. Her daddy made her do Fame and stuff like that. So she really didn't want to do Fame and stuff like that. So after that part, that's when that's when that's when that's when Janet I guess tried to do her own little album, and the album didn't work out too well and stuff like that. And she said she didn't like the music and stuff like that, and she didn't like the type of music they was giving to her. And then Janet said she felt that the only way that she could get rid of Joe or leave Joe was to get married. That's what she thought in her mind. And some people were saying, people back in those days. Yeah, I remember our parents back in those days. They always wanted their daughters to find a man in the army, or find a good man to marry them, so they could be on their way. So I understand where Janet got that concept from, because she probably heard it from some of her kinfolk. But anyway, she said that's what she felt like, and she said this is what I call the DeBarge era. And so she said she knew about the DeBarge family because they were similar to the Jacksons, and they were a singing family. And she also heard that one of the DeBarge brothers liked Victoria, and that's how she met James. And she said she met James, but a little bit before that, one of the producers had interviewed James back in the day. Back in the day, and asked James what kind of girl is he looking for when he's looking for a date. And he said he wanted a girl that was kind and sweet and gentle, and she had to be nice from the inside out. And he said, nice from the inside. He said, yeah, if she's not nice in the inside, her heart is not good, I really don't want her. And so he said that when he met up with Janet, Janet was so nice and innocent, and was so nice and innocent, and she was looking at him with those gazing, googling eyes and stuff, and so that's how they met. And Janet said they started off as friends, but she said she started dating him when she was 16 years old, and she secretly married him when she was 18 years old. And so so Janet said that it was one of James Beberge's uncles that married them in his church. And somebody asked Ruby about Janet's secret marriage. She said, huh, what, Janet married? She said, no, Janet ain't married. I know Janet's dating that DeBarge guy. And they told her, no, they got secretly married. And she said, yeah, they did secretly get married. And so Janet said they were on their way to the hotel room, and James Beberge dropped her off at the hotel room, and then he left her there for, I think she said 2 to 6 hours, and then he came back and stuff. And she was saying she was wondering what was going on, and she said she found out that he left her in a hotel room to do drugs. And she said she used to have to go ride down the street and look for him and stuff, because he was so into those drugs so heavily. And then they showed a flashback of where one of the older DeBarge brothers were getting arrested for drugs, and another one was getting arrested for drugs. And so we all know that whole family was, even though they were popular singers, they were all on drugs. But anyway, She said some kind of way they got into, I guess maybe a little disagreement or a little argument, and he wanted her to take him to his brother's house, and she said she took him to his brother's house, and she said after he got out the car and she locked the door, she said she thought about it the whole way driving to her mom's house, and she said, oh no, can't nobody live like this. She said nobody should live like this. And she said she don't know if she's a person that's always trying to save people or what, but she said she went to her mother's house and she never looked back, and she got her, well, she said divorce at first, but then she said back then it was an annulment because I guess she was under the age of 20 or whatever you want to call it. And then she asked the producer, would you mind me not talking about this and we can go on to something else? And then they went on to something else. And then Janet said that Randy and the rest of her brothers explained to her why Joe was so hard on them, because he didn't want them to grow up to be drug dealers or people in the street and stuff. And she said, she said without discipline, there's a saying, she said, without discipline there is tyranny, but there was no tyranny, and her parents were not terrorists. They was just tough on them. And I said they might not have been terrorists, but some of those behaviors were kind of borderline. And so you could tell she didn't want to say anything negative about her brother and her brothers and sisters and stuff. And so everybody, including me, found it funny that every time they mentioned something, Janet would say her daddy or her father, but Randy would always say your daddy, your daddy. So everybody kind of found that kind of funny. But anyway, after that, they showed little clips of what's going to happen on part 2, and I'm going to do part 2 in another video. This is A. Wesley. That ain't even tested like a TI is. I am out.